Okay, so I believe some of you guys click on this video because you guys have been waiting for the Divine Com, and here you have it. In today's video, we're going to run through all of the most expensive team composition in AFK journey and talk about why this com is really powerful, why this com is called the Divine Com, and why you should run it, and whether or not there's any counter for this com. So without further ado, let's jump into the team formation. So over here, the core of the team is actually Skalita and Donnell. And you can add in Barrow in to just fulfill the pay to winners of this com, right? Because number one, for you to even get these 3 Celestial and Hypogean units, you need to have your Rainer invested for your Dream Realm purposes, right? Then you go into Skalita or Donnell. And for you to even use Donnell in the team, I think you need Skalita to protect him, and you need Skalita for the additional stats, as well as the control and the secondary carry potential. Then you end off the Trifactor with Barrow over there. So as you guys can see, you need to have at least invested in all 4 of your Celestial and Hypogean unit to actually make this com work. Right? It's not like you invest in Donnell and then you can make do without Skalita. Yes, you can do it, but honestly speaking, I think the power of this com is a lot weaker without Skalita. Right? This team can definitely function without Barrow, but Barrow there will give you additional stats, and Barrow on this map is really insane. I'll talk about it why later. But let's say if you are a more budget whale, you're not somebody of the Divine Fortune rank, or you have Donnell and Skalita invested, but not the other Hypogean units. The other unit you can use in your team to replace it is obviously Heal-In to provide for more sustain, because Donnell will be the main carry of the team. Donnell as a unit, if he's able to get the 3-stack buff on him for maximum DPS, is gonna carry you the game. Then we still have Skalita as a secondary carry. However, to show off how powerful our wallets are, I'm gonna put in Barrow. Right, because Barrow is very disruptive, especially in this map. Because this map is an open map, Barrow preys on isolated target, and with the map being so spaced out, there is bound to be enemies that will be isolated. So that's where Barrow will be super disruptive, and Barrow will act as a tertiary carry. So in this com here, we have 3 different sets of carry. We have Donnell with all the offensive buff on him. We have Skalita, which comes down and becomes the Super Saiyan after a fixed period of time. And we have Barrow, who is really disruptive, but if let's say left in a 1v1 situation, Barrow is insanely powerful as a carry as well. So the support and tank of choice is Torrent and Damien. So Damien is there to provide the haste buff for Donnell, and Torrent is there to provide any form of insta sniping on Donnell in case your enemy decides to do that. So there's a little bit of RNG factor with regards to the buffs, because for you to fully maximize Donnell's ability, you need to actually unlock these 3 stacks of intoxication on him for him to proc the true damage on the EX weapon. So you need all 3 stacks to be fully stacked on him. So you get 1 stack from your enlightening spell, which is the artifact that we're using. You get 1 stack from Damien's haste buff from the initial use of his skill, and then you can get 1 stack from Skalita from the shielding ability. So there's a little bit of RNG there, but if you want a more consistent way to buff your team up, you can obviously put in the likes of Laika, right? Laika gives an insta buff, and Laika fits into the factional bonus. So here you're still getting a 4 unit bonus, right? If you don't have Laika, right, you have a Smokey invested, you can also do this as well, although you'll be losing a little bit in terms of the factional bonus. Because let's say if now you have like 3 different units from 3 different factions, you're not going to get the 4-1, right? So this is the power of this comp, because this comp with Barrow, right, you guys can see the amount of stats that you guys have. It's a 4-1 comp. So it's 21%. It's nearly as good as a 5 hero comp while having such insane synergy and such insane late game power, right? So you guys will see later how this comp works, but the main carry is the backline Donnell. Secondary carry Skalita with a little bit of support. Barrow is there for being disruptive. Barrow is not super duper important, but I'm showcasing Barrow today because I want to showcase the power of money in the game itself. Okay, so if let's say there are certain situations where Barrow is not as good, I will change it out to Laika or Heal-In based on the enemies that we are fighting. Okay, so this is the team setup. Now I have a replay where I actually fought I'll say like a stronger player in terms of unit quality with the Divine Com, and as you guys can see over here, my opponent over here is Paragon 2. Right, so Paragon 2 sign, and over here my whole team is only Paragon 1. So in terms of the power level of this team, right, this team is definitely up there. If you do get these units all to a really high Paragon tier, as the name suggests, you will truly have a divine comp, because Doniao is a unit that benefits greatly from rivalry stats due to his AoE attacking prowess and the true damage potential. So if you want to build a team around Doniao, it is definitely possible. But if you want to make a really strong team around Doniao, the current strongest iteration should be the divine comp, as you guys can see over here. So I will start the replay against this team. So for this setup, I actually chose to abandon Barrow because Barrow in the enclosed map is not really strong. Anyway, the battle is going really fast, so I will go and run one time so that I can actually explain what's going on in the battle so you guys understand. Okay, so let's go. One time battle. So at the start of the battle, Iron uses a skill, and then Doniao gets the attack speed buff from a lightning spell, gets the haste buff from the card, and then gets shielded by Skalita, which procs all the 3 buff based on the 3 leaves behind him, as you guys can see. So that's where he unleashes his AoE true damage EX weapon skill and then bursts down a lot of enemy. And when he starts flying into the air, he is one of the better counters against all the control teams, because who can you control if the guy is no longer on the floor? So that's why a lot of people mention that Doniao is a really good counter to Iron teams because of this reason, right? Because number 1, you cannot control him in the air. Number 2, his burst damage is really high. And number 3, this is a very wallet heavy team. So you're probably going to fight somebody who's mega whale, somebody who's spending thousands of dollars, or somebody who spends a lot of money in the game. So now let's do some other battle against maybe a few more meta teams to show you guys. So over here we have this Iron Carolina combo. So I'm just going to showcase this time. I'll showcase this team, right, without Heroine. We're going to just use Barrow. So Barrow is not exactly very good in a very spaced out map, but I think this team will do. So one thing about Barrow, you can use him as a semi-tank because he's able to revive himself even though he might die. And you kind of want to protect Doniao by all costs because he will be your main damage source. But then again, because you have a 4 unit bonus, as you guys can see, with the 3% buff from the Celestial Hypogean unit, your stat bonus is actually really high there. So your units are decently tanky. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the battle. Okay, we go at one time so that you guys can see what's going on. Okay. So Torrent got stuck to the corner, and you guys can see the debuff that Barrow provides. He'll be jumping around, finding isolated target. Okay, so if your enemy clumps together, Doniao is going to do a lot of damage. If your enemy decides to split up, Barrow's going to do a lot of damage. So either way, they have to choose between one of them. And I think in most cases, you'll choose to split up your unit, because if you clump up, Skalita's also going to own your ass as well. So you guys can see over here the power of Doniao when he's able to get his stacks up. And this Doniao is not even full powered because he only has 2 stacks on him. So there's a little bit of RNG factor there. If you want to focus more on Doniao carry, then you should actually put more buffers for him. But if you want to have a more multi-carry team approach, then use Barrow in the last slot, right? Depending on what you want. So if you don't have Barrow, the buffs on Doniao will be less consistent because you'll be relying on Skalita landing the shield on Doniao, which may or may not happen. So that's some drawback that you guys need to know. Okay, so the last battle, right? I'll just do a very I won't take on the same guy. I'll try to take somebody different so you guys can see something different. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we have a fellow Divine Comp user, right? So we can have we can see some fight with the Divine Comp over here. So right here, the idea of this setup is very like the idea of why this team is set up like this is very similar. But if you, let's say, don't have a Barrow in your team, I think most of the meta Warders unit, I think especially Iron, will fit very well as well, because Iron forces your enemy to go together, right? So over here we are fighting another Divine Comp, and let's see whose Divine Comp will reign supreme. So over here we are slightly stronger in terms of power, but we can see the power of Barrow in this setup because this map is very good for Barrow. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the battle. Okay, so one time, Iron pulls everyone together. Doniao gets 1 buff, gets 2 buff from the Damien, right? Are we getting outed buff? Oh no, our Doniao flew away from the thing, and the opponent actually managed to get all 3 buff, which procs the true damage. Okay, but we might still have a chance, right? Even though we have 1 buff less compared to the enemy over here. Okay, so Skalita descends, as you guys can see. So now it's really like the battle of the Celestial units. Right, Barrow is down. Barrow is second life consumed. So Skalita hammers the Skalita off the battlefield. Okay. The Donnell drops down. Okay. True damage. Oh my god. That was very, very close in terms of killing my Donnell. But we still won in the end because our wallet was thicker. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this Divine Com showcase, right? One of the reasons why I didn't want to showcase this team was because this team would not be applicable to a lot of people just because of how expensive it is, right? Number one, you need to obviously have your Torrent and Damien set up in terms of their EX weapon. Number two, you need to build up Reyna first, right? Because Reyna is a must. Then by priority, you want to build up Skalita because she's the most versatile. Then you want to build up Donnell. And if you want to finish the Trifactor, you need Barrel in the mix. So you guys can see how expensive this will be. And you need all these carry units to be at a really high tier in order to see their full potential. So yep, that's pretty much it for this Divine Team showcase. Not very applicable for most people, but it's entertaining to watch when Donnell starts destroying everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye guys!